Mortality, behold and fear. What a change of flesh is here. Think how many royal bones sleep within this heap of stones. Here they lie, had realms and lands, who now want strength to steer their hands, where from their pulpits sealed with dust, they preach, in greatness is no trust. Here is an acre sown indeed with the richest royal seed that the earth did ever suck in since the first man died for sin. Here the bones of birth have cried, though lords they were, as men they died. Here are sons, ignoble things, dropped from the ruined sides of kings. Here is a world of pomp and state, buried in dust, once dead by fate. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Agbo, and I want to welcome you back to my channel, Poetry of the Masters, Poetry Appreciation, in which we do appreciate the poems of traditional and contemporary poets. The poem you heard in the intro is titled On the Tombs of Westminster Abbey. It's a poem written by Francis Beaumont. Francis Beaumont was an English poet who wrote this beautiful poem that is a hallmark of how great England is when it comes to poetry. So I love this poem so much, and I memorized this poem, and I still can recite this poem up until today. Francis Beaumont's poem examines the theme of mortality, and the essence of the message is that no matter how great you are in this world, everybody follows the same path, which is to eventually die and leave this world. I wanted to present this poem to you today so you can see how rich the poem is, how rich the poet's diction is, how rich the vocabulary, how rich the style. So I hope you enjoyed the poem, and I invite you to look up the poem yourself so you can take time and examine all the lines and the meaning, the full meaning behind the poem. Again, the title of the poem is On the Tombs of Westminster Abbey, and the poet is Francis Beaumont. For today's episode, we shall be examining one of the 6 questions that we looked at in our last episode, and that is the question of, do you as a young poet, do you as an upcoming poet, do you as an aspiring poet, do you have a mentor, do you have a role model? Is there any poet, any seasoned poet, any established poet that you are shadowing? To shadow a poet means to work closely, following what the poet has written, following the works of a poet, reading all their poems, trying to see a certain pattern when it comes to the poet's style of writing, the kind of themes that the poet delves in, and the poet's lyrical style, you know. So I said in the last episode that I do have a poet that I do shadow, and that poet is Lord Alfred Tennyson. Lord Alfred Tennyson is the poet that most inspired me, and he helped me a lot because I learned a lot from his great lyrics. I learned a lot from the richness of his vocabulary and his lyrical style. And so I was able to improve on my own writing because I was trying to aspire to a higher standard, a higher bar that he set when it comes to writing poetry. Lord Tennyson is not the only poet that raised the bar so high, but you have to pick a mentor of yours. And so I decided to follow Lord Tennyson's works, and his, his style does reflect in my own poetry. So, do you have a mentor? Do you have a poet, an established poet that you are shadowing? If not, I do advise you that it is a good thing to have. It is well established that a good artist is always inspired by another good artist, you know. So if you're starting out as a young poet, before you carve out a niche for yourself, it is good to have an established poet whose works, you try to follow and try to emulate. Look at the subject matter that they touch on. What are the themes that interest them? What are the things that they like to write about? Those areas that they like to write about. Do you think they are the same things that you share? Do you have the same concerns and the same beliefs as them? Do you share their philosophy? Do you share their outlook in life? Do you share their worldview, the way they see the world? So it is very, very important that you have an established poet that inspires you. Look at the poem that I just read to you, On the Tombs of Westminster Abbey by Francis Beaumont. You can see the choice of words. You can see the language used, the craftsmanship. You can see the language engineering. And you can tell that these people used to write great poetry. They had a mastery of the language, and they had a purpose. They had a style of theirs, which really is lost in a lot of contemporary poets. That is why you see me, I keep mentioning them. I keep going back to them. Because when I look at the works of quite a number of contemporary poets, I feel kind of disappointed, that the standard is falling. The bar is really being lowered. You look at the works of celebrated poets, award-winning poets, poets laureate of today, and they cannot measure up. They don't come even close to the level that the masters had, the great poets had. So in the course of our different recordings, I will be bringing to you what I can consider as lost poetry, great poetry that today are old poetry, but you can see how great poetry used to be. Because I understand, younger poets today would not know how great poetry used to be. Poetry today just turns out to be anything that anybody pens down, and they do that, and they win awards. They get nominated for great achievements. So I really, really regret that poetry has descended to that level. But I will do my best in this channel to bring you in every recording a new piece, a beautiful piece. And I will refer you to look them up afterwards so you can see how beautiful poetry used to be. And I'll do my best to use my own voice, to recite those poems, those that I can recite, and those that I cannot, I will read them out to you so you can see how rich, how beautiful they are. So thank you very much for watching this new episode. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. If you saw any value in this episode, please like, subscribe, and share so that you do not miss out on any new postings that will come up. Thank you very much, and see you in the next episode.